Any business with a parking lot is your customer when you offer seal coating as a service. And in this video, I'm speaking with my buddy Jackson about every facet of how you can start this business for yourself and start making big money as quickly as possible. Everything from the equipment you'll need just starting out to the pro setups that his company runs today, licensing and insurance, how to price these jobs, how to get customers, upsells that you can offer to your seal coating customers. And if you stick around to the end, we're even going to get into the biggest jobs this company has ever done, their most costly mistakes in business, the worst customer that he's ever had, as well as the worst parts about offering this as a service, because it's important to understand both the pros and cons of starting any new business. So if this is the kind of content that you want to see more of, smash the thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. But if you have a business or you're thinking about starting one and you need a tool for sending estimates, invoices, or keeping track of customers, then you need to try QuoteIQ, the #1 CRM for the home service industry. Right now, you can try any tier for free at myquoteiq.com. It'll be the first link in the comment section and the description of this video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So Jackson, tell us, man, how long have you been in this seal coating and pavement industry for?
Yeah, I've been in the industry about 5 years. It's a fun place to work and to be in.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking all about everything. I guess is it the pavement industry? Like, how do we
Yeah,
classify?
pavement maintenance.
Okay, pavement maintenance. So we're gonna be talking about all that today in this video. I want to get into all the nitty gritty on how people could start this business for themselves. Obviously, a pretty high demand though. Just off the front of it, seems like every single business, a lot of homes. Like there's a lot of different jobs that we can get out there. Wouldn't you say so, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty robust industry. There's a ton of work to be had out there. And I mean if you think about pavement, like everywhere you go there's pavement parking lots, roads, driveways, sidewalks, paths. I mean it's verbose in the breadth, and there's always going to be pavement and it always needs to be maintained, so there's always going to be jobs and demand for it.
Okay, beautiful. And it doesn't seem like an industry that too many people are really talking about. Like a lot of the videos I see online aren't really, discussing this. So let's get into it. First and foremost, we'll talk a little bit about licensing and insurance. Obviously it's going to differ as far as licensing goes on where you're at in the country. But can we talk a little bit about insurance or like any prior training that you need, before you start this business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you're providing services to people, you're going to want to get insurance. You're going to have to be licensed and insured. So, general business insurance, just to cover yourself there. And then in this industry, you're going to need to have equipment, you're going to need to have vehicles. So, you're obviously going to need license and registration and the ability to operate those vehicles in the states that you're in. So, like we're in Oregon, but we work in Washington, and so we need to just be like legally able to work in both these states. And so vehicle insurance is a big one. General liability is just generally what you need, and then you also need your CCB number. You need to display that in all your materials. Whether you're doing like yard sign marketing or ads online or even like business cards, you need to display your CCB number, to just let people know that you are a licensed contractor. There's a bunch of other like nuanced kind of license, but there's helpful checklists out there to go through and run through all the different insurance things you need prior to going out there and executing work on people's property or businesses' property.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I do want to get into the equipment here. Just one thing that's kind of like a really important, right? This seems like a industry that's pretty big barrier to entry. So with regards to, online training, obviously there's some online training available, but do you recommend people actually go and maybe work for a company first to kind of get that hands-on experience so that way they know how to, I don't know, work with the machines and everything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think like anything, it's probably a good idea to be a little bit of a subject matter expert prior to jumping in. But I'm sure there's people that have, like yourself, seen something interesting and been like, "Ooh, shiny," and then they learn everything there is to learn about that really quickly. They jump right in, maybe without prior experience, and then they just get baptized by fire. And that's certainly one way to get into the industry. The other is to start working for an organization and kind of learn via osmosis from experts, and then eventually they split off and start their own company.
If you're serious about starting a seal coating business, but you're not sure what equipment to buy, the best procedures and application methods, how to price jobs, or how to repair and maintain asphalt the right way, this is exactly what you need. The How to Seal Coat training is the ultimate step-by-step system for building a profitable seal coating business from the ground up. This all-new training program lays out every step of the process from inspecting and prepping surfaces to applying sealer and completing full commercial and residential projects with professional results. This training is going to allow you to get that on-job experience without actually having to go out and work for another company. So whether you're just adding this to your existing business or you're starting from scratch, How to Seal Coat gives you the tools, the systems, and the confidence to dominate your local market. So be sure to check it out with the second link in the comment section and the description.
In regards to the whole pavement maintenance industry or even like construction industry, I think you'd have to drill down to the actual like subset of services that you're going to offer to actually see if it's going to be a large barrier to entry. Because in the pavement maintenance world, you've got, especially what we deal with seal coating, we do striping, we do excavation, we do paving, we do parking lot sweeping, and each one of those like service lines have different customers, different demand, different equipment requirements, different personnel requirements. And so I guess it sort of depends on where you want to go. And the larger the barrier to entry, the fewer players there's going to be, but the more capital expenditure, the more whatever. If it's a low barrier to entry, you're going to have a ton of players, but anyone can start because there's not that much equipment required or CapEx is low. So it sort of depends what you want to get into, but there's a ton out there, and it's kind of fun to just think about where you could go or what new service lines you could offer.
Okay, beautiful, dude. That's a really good perspective because, like you said, the higher the barrier to entry, the less competition you're gonna have on the other side. So, with that being said, let's get into equipment and how much kind of like startup costs are for this business. If you could, though, I'd really like to look at like beginner equipment. Is there a way for us to kind of like just start off? I think you told me you started off kind of doing friends' driveways and things of that nature. So, what does
Mhm.
that equipment look like? And then, can we take that money and kind of reinvest into the bigger stuff later on down the road?
Yeah, so talking specifically about seal coating, right?
Right.
Like coatings. Okay. So when it comes to seal coating, I mean, you'll see that I would describe it as a pretty fragmented industry. Like you'll see a lot of people just sort of running and gunning, like two-man crews, one-man crews, three-man crews doing driveways. But you have, larger established companies that maybe they have a full 5 or 6 man crew. Maybe they have multiple crews that are doing big, like retail shopping centers or storage facilities or big, just like industrial places. And when most people are going to start in that small parking lot kind of arena because, you get a tank, so I guess we can talk about equipment to get started. So like the easiest way to start is just to buy like a tote. It's something that can just hold material. You need something that can hold material, something to tow that material. So like a flatbed truck and a tote or a trailer that has that tote on it and something to haul that. And so now that you have your material, your seal coat material that you can just move around and be mobile with, now you need hoses that material can flow through. And usually there's a pump on the end of it that you can actually like force the material out versus just gravity fed. But when you're actually applying seal coat, you're using brooms or squeegees. And you'll see people online kind of doing this POV. We've done it, we've videoed ourselves, and that's the main application method. You typically want to crack seal as well, so you can, you want to use a V squeegee, or you've got actually like crack pot applications where it's just this cauldron of liquid, like hot liquid that's just a plasticized or like a rubberized material that fills cracks. Then you go over the top with the seal coat. And so in terms of equipment, there just isn't a ton there in the beginning. You do need pretty good cleaning equipment like surface cleaners. You've got fans, blowers, and really you want an agitating, rotating head broom that actually goes right onto the pavement and just moves back and forth, spins, and just gets all your material off the surface of the pavement, moss, grass, dirt, caked on clay. You want that surface to be super clean prior to applying seal coat, and you want your cracks to be clean in the cracks that have developed in the driveway before you apply crack seal, or they can come up. So that's like really basic equipment. If you're really scrappy and you wanted to start today, I think you could probably start with under $10,000. Honestly, if you had a decent setup and a truck or something, you could get going and start seal coating neighbors' driveways and walking up and down, offering, "Hey, I'll seal coat your driveway," just to get your hands on it and start to learn.
Of course, man. Okay, so 10K to kind of get started, kind of on the low end. Obviously, there's going to be some reinvestment. Can we talk about kind of as you scale up, we get into bigger equipment, bigger rigs, bigger setups, right? So it's kind of like the same game. It's just allows us to do more area quicker, right?
Yes, bigger jobs. I mean, if you're just focused on driveways, you're limited by driveways. You're only doing residential, which is, you know, there's yeah, different levels to the scale here, but when you do driveways, you have the benefit of the owner, the person who's making decisions, being right at the door. You're taking cash, you're giving them a price, sort of. It's a little more laissez-faire. As soon as you kind of take the next step and you're doing things for businesses, you're you're sort of working through different hierarchy of decision makers there perhaps, or you're dealing with traffic all of a sudden on a homeowner's driveway. You can say, hey, stay off of it for 24 hours, but now you're into the business world. Well, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or whatever their operating hours are, now you're dealing with traffic. So that's one element here that's really weird, but you're also dealing with a larger area of asphalt, with some other complications. If you have traffic, you've got new safety risks that you didn't have on the driveways. But yeah, and as you scale up, you aren't just going to be able to roll up to a retail center with a little tote, and a little truck and be like, oh, we totally got this with you and your buddy. You're going to need more manpower to be able to clean every square foot of asphalt prior to sealing. You're going to need to crack fill all of those cracks prior to seal coating. I mean, you don't have to, but that's recommended because it doesn't really make sense to seal coat a driveway or any asphalt without sealing the cracks, because like you want to seal the entire surface to keep rain out of the cracks, UV off of things. And if you don't crack fill the cracks, you get water in there that freezes and thaws and freezes and thaws and just makes those cracks bigger. So typically you want to do, if you're going to seal coat, you want to crack fill as well. But when you get up to those bigger jobs, you're going to want a tanker truck, something that you can roll up to the job site with 500 gallons, 1,000 gallons of material. So you don't have to make these multiple trips. You're going to just need the manpower because most business owners want you to get in and get out. So we try to just cover, I mean, anywhere from 50 to 100,000 square feet in a day with the current crew that we have. When you get to bigger lots too, you don't have to just do the brooming method on the sides and then spraying. Typically, people like spray on seal coat, but once you get to those bigger areas, you can actually bring a buggy out there, which is this like mini. I mean, it's a buggy. It's like a big drivable squeegee that puts out a ton of material, and you just drive it around, and you're able to cover more square footage in a day. So once you start talking about that, a brand new buggy is $60,000. So that, used one might be 10 or 20 or 30, but that's a huge investment. And now you got to tow that thing, and that thing's heavy. So you might need a CDL license to legally be able to tow that thing. So that's like the bigger equipment that you'd run into once you kind of move up in job size, along with just double or tripling the amount of brooms and squeegees and V squeegees and ground blowers and surface scrubbers to prepare the surface. Yeah, I mean, we can keep talking about this all day, but I feel like I should stop there.
No, that's perfect. So, like, obviously, right, we kind of get in where we can get in, and then I think we slowly but surely kind of add things on until ultimately you get to the level that you guys are at, which is, you know, a lot of big equipment. Because it seems like the
Yeah.
bigger the jobs are, the more planning that needs to go into them is what I'm hearing from you, Jackson.
Oh,
So it's
absolutely.
not just like because we see the money, it's like, wow, it's so much more money, but it's also probably so much more. You have to be more organized, you have to be more, effective, and you have to put together a strategy for basically how you're going to attack it. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I mean, the coordination effort it has to be there for those bigger jobs, and you have kind of nuances in the seal coat space where you're dealing with weather, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with location. Sometimes we'll have to go out of town and then stay in a hotel, and maybe the place that we're seal coating is good for us to seal coat on Monday, Tuesday, but then they don't want us to go on Wednesday, Thursday, and then we got to go back Friday. So we're sort of constantly working within a customer's demands within reason. So we often have to slate these things in unique ways. And then what happens if, we have mechanical failures, or what happens with X, Y, and Z? There's all these variables that it ultimately becomes a dance, and you're just like going, that you kind of lose track of time or your mind a little bit, because there is so much going on. Like on the surface, it seems really simple, but when you're actually doing it and trying to execute it, it does become quite a bit more complicated than just seal coating a friend's driveway on a weekend,
Sounds like it takes a lot more effort kind of to get these bigger jobs. If you could, can we run through the process of how you guys do these jobs one more time? And you said the sweeping, the crack fill, that whole deal.
Yeah. So when we approach a job, typically, like, you roll up on site, do safety analysis, ensure that there's no like glaring safety issues, like there's no homeless people, with potential, like, I don't know, just general hazards that come along with that. And if there are, like, we're going to be engaged with the business owner, making sure there's no just trash, like big trash issues, making sure there's no wet spots. Before we go out to a job site, we want to make sure the customer has turned off their sprinklers. We want to make sure the sprinklers aren't going to come on 24 hours after we lay down seal coat. And so pretty much we're assessing the site to make sure like it is ready for us to seal coat. So we roll up, kind of do a little bit of a site walkthrough, identify any issues. Usually there's cars in a parking lot. We do our best to get cars out, but if there's cars, we have to engage a towing company to get the site completely free and clear of obstacles, trash, water, etc. And if there are any of those things there, sort of got to do a little bit of a dance with the owner. But ideally, we show up, no cars in the parking lot, no sprinkler systems on, so the pavement is dry. That's like a key here, is you want to make sure the pavement's dry and the cracks are dry and ready to accept material. So once everything's kind of walked through with this, from a safety perspective and just a site readiness perspective, we are going to set up candlestick cones on the entrances and put caution tape across and essentially block the site from traffic. Once we do that, we get right to cleaning. Crews go out, and they're bringing, we're out there with surface agitators. It's just like these rotating broom heads. You're out there with backpack blowers, scrub, full on like scrub, like wire brooms. You have like some areas where maybe there's moss or caked on dirt that you really need to agitate. And so by any means necessary, you are getting the surface cleaned and prepped for seal coat. If it's really bad, we'll bring out a sweeper truck, which thankfully we're in the industry. We have sweeping trucks. We started as a sweeping company. So we'll have a sweeper truck out there that's sucking up material, agitating the ground. We'll have skid steers out there with, you're talking about other, pieces of equipment. These are bigger, more expensive pieces of equipment, but vital if you're trying to grow and execute big jobs. So we've got a skid steer with a broom head on it that's just rotating and scraping up material. So that's sort of a dance, because you kind of move from one side of the parking lot to the other, sort of just moving this dirt along with it, leaving behind clean and prepared asphalt ready for application. So I guess if you're new and you don't know, seal coat is only to be applied to asphalt. It's not for concrete, not for other surfaces, brick. It is for concrete. It is for asphalt, because it is asphalt-based emulsion top coat. So as you move across the parking lot, you're just preparing the surface, and if you have enough people, once you kind of get enough of an area prepped, rather than cleaning it completely, then coming back and seal coating, as those cleaners move along, if you're seal coating, you can come in right behind them and start seal coating. And if there's cracks, you're going to do the same thing, but have the crack fill team come through and you can fill cracks. And after the crack fill team starts moving along, the seal coat team can come in. And typically it's all one team. It's just different people. Like some people are really good at applicating. They're good at spraying. They're good at driving the buggy. Some really love crack filling. Or if you're really good at cleaning, you can just be on the cleaning crew. So once you crack fill, seal coat, you're going to just roll that way. And I guess I'm trying to explain this for someone who's never done it, but you're going to cut in on the outside. The edges are the hardest part to seal coat because you have this like transition between nature or islands or building into the driveway or into the drive lanes or parking stalls. And so what you would do is you're going to use a wand, lay down material on the very edge of the asphalt, and you're going to come with brooms and have people right behind you to broom sort of like a 2 foot or 3 foot swatch between the nature, the building, the concrete, whatever it is, into the drive lane, the parking lot. And so now you've kind of put a border of seal coat around the whole parking lot or around the area that you're working in. Now you can come in with a seal coat sprayer and be a little bit more laissez-faire, not be concerned about getting seal coat onto buildings, onto cars, onto the concrete, because you have this border that you're kind of working within. And once you get that border around the whole area that you're seal coating, you can then come in and spray or come in and buggy, and yeah, then just like get out of there. Do it as fast as you can and get out of there.
Okay, beautiful. Dude, that sounds like a pretty big scale operation. So if you could, like, what are the price ranges of like these larger type jobs that you guys are doing? Because obviously if you're rolling out that kind of a big equipment, you don't want to go out there for, $1,000, right? So yeah.
No, no. I mean, you ultimately like you've the scale. I mean, your pricing really is going to depend on how big the job is, obviously. And there's a few different ways to kind of think about it. But our range, I mean, we've done jobs that are $100,000. So we've also done jobs that are $1,000. Just totally depends. But there's definitely money to be made. I'll just say that there's money to be made, and the bigger jobs, you're making maybe the same, profit margin or whatever, but because you're putting down so much material, it's like you're doing 100 driveways in a day instead of maybe only being able to get in like 5 or 10 if you were just doing driveways. So our goal is to apply as much seal coat to the best of our abilities, create the best product for the customer, and just having, the more material we're laying down, the more money we're making.
Okay, beautiful. That's the name of the game. So yeah, it sounds like you guys are doing some like 6-figure parking lots with like some of this workflow. So,
Yeah.
it's beautiful to see the progression. You can start off doing driveways yourself, and then you can kind of build your equipment up into doing like monster projects like this. So I do want to talk a little bit about how you guys price these jobs. Is it a square footage price? It sounds like there's a lot of dynamics that go into kind of like orchestrating the whole thing. So how does pricing look?
Yeah, so I mean, pricing is super dependent on the site itself. It's site specific. You can't just say, I mean, there's generals, right? You look up, I mean, if you type into Google, what's the pricing for seal coat? You're going to get a wide range of answers. But it's site specific at the end of the day. And some sites, the biggest like variable here that indicates what your price is going to be is how much time is it going to take to clean that surface. Because once you actually start applying material, there's not a lot that changes from lot to lot. Maybe you've got more islands than another lot. And if it's wide open, it's going to be easier to get that material down. But if you have islands, or you have speed bumps that you can't go over, or you have, parking garages that have posts sticking out, and it's like interrupting the efficiency at which you can seal, that's going to make that price point jump a little bit. But before you even get to sealing, you have cleaning the lot. And if the lot is absolutely a mess, that price is going to go way up, because we've spent an entire day cleaning a lot before, or 2 days even cleaning the entire like retail center because it's just so dirty. And so if you roll up and the site is completely clean, whatever it was priced at, you're going to make your money because you just start right into seal coating. So I guess some variables that affect pricing are going to be availability of customer. If they're a weekend or a weekday customer, weekends are more coveted, right? There's only 2 of them a week, and typically there's not traffic in there, so it's an ideal time for us to come in and seal coat. But it's limited, so if they're weekend only customers, there's going to be a premium there. Weekdays a little bit easier, but harder for us because there's traffic always. Cleanliness of the lot, how many impediments, I don't know what there is, how many things impede your process, posts, poles, islands, etc. That's an indicator. And then with seal coat, you can actually do a single coat or a double coat. And so that's just the lifespan of, if you do a single coat, might last 1 to 3 years or something. You do a double coat, 3 to 5 years, and then you can even do double coat heavy duty, where we add some more aggregate and material to it to just make the seal coat last longer, and that's like 5 to 7 years. And that's just a general statement, but that's going to impact pricing. You know, the more premium of a product you're providing, you're going to pay more. And what's really interesting about seal coating is you've got kind of regions in the US, and I assume other places, that would charge and price differently just based on competitiveness. Here in Oregon, I mean, you'll see a range of probably like 14 cents on the very, very low end, like driveways or run and gun sort of crews that just roll up, do it, and disappear, versus more established companies that are gonna be in that 20 cents per square foot, just generally 20 to 22 cents. But you know, a few years ago, we were doing seal coat for, I don't know, a few cents less than we're doing it for now. And you know, like everything, materials increasing, labor prices, you know, we want to make good money, you know, trying to pay guys well. So we're making more money. So we got to price things a little bit higher. In 10 years from now, it's going to be different. It might be 30 cents a square foot for a seal coat. So, you know, it's just changing, but it typically is based on a square foot price. You know, a few years ago, I started bidding seal coat quite a bit more. And I roll up to the job site and I'm measuring cracks. I'm assessing how clean the surface is, and then how rough it is. If it's really rough, seal coat's gonna sit in those pockets, and it actually eats up a decent amount of material. And then you're gonna need a decent amount of material to cover all of the undulations in the pavement, versus it just being flat, and it's not gonna take much seal coat to just cover the top. So all those things. So I'm using actually a crack wheel, or I guess a measure wheel, and I'm running all the different cracks in an area, measuring the square foot of that area, and then extrapolating across the whole parking lot to fully capture how many linear feet of cracks are in this entire parking lot. Because I'm not going to measure 40,000 square feet of cracks. You know, I'm not going to walk 8 miles just to measure, but I'm going to measure a small section and use that as a representative for the whole lot. Then I go back to the office, or I did when I was bidding more, and I'm doing satellite views. I'm using software to measure the square footage of the area, cutting out islands and buildings and parking garages. And then I get a square foot price, or I get a square foot of the lot. I apply a square foot price, add my crack seal number, and voila, arrive.
If you need a tool to measure square footage for your customers, then you need to check out the Map Measure Pro feature within Quote IQ. You can measure properties and send a professional estimate within seconds. The best part is this tool is integrated in with the estimates, so you can easily set a square footage price and send professional looking estimates faster than any of your competition, making sure that you beat every other competitor to the lead. So if you want to try Quote IQ for free, you can do so with the first link in the comment section and the description. Okay, beautiful. Hey, there's a lot more intricacies than people would think. You think you just measure the parking lot, you send them a price, it's, you know, kind of all done from there. But yeah, you got to make sure, you know, obviously that you're not wasting time, like you said, filling cracks and losing material, all that other kind of good stuff. I do want to get into how we're getting customers for the service, because I mean, obviously, you know, these are more commercial clients. So I would imagine Google, or, you know, places where these people are searching you out would be the main place your customers are coming from. But can you enlighten us, Jackson?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, if you're doing driveways, you're kind of, you know, going through neighborhoods, maybe you're doing a lot of referrals or whatnot. But when you're we're definitely more in that commercial side of things. And so the decision makers are a little bit harder to get to, you know, so we got to weave our way through the front desk worker, and then the owner, and then the owner refers us to the, you know, property manager, or whoever it is, whoever's making those decisions. So there's a little bit more work to get there. But the easy way to get there is there's like LinkedIn. So we've got ads, Google ads. We have our YouTube channel, as you know. That's actually given us quite a few clients. And then we have the benefit of you know, we've been operating in Oregon for quite a while now, and so we have a lot of brand recognition here. And so we get phone calls quite a bit from customers that are like, "Hey, I'm your sweeping customer, but my lot needs seal coating," or "Hey, I need you guys installed some speed bumps, like did asphalt work for us a few years ago. We're looking to have seal coating." So I would say a large portion of where our business comes from is referrals or existing relationships. And the great thing about existing relationships versus driveways and everything else, driveways, there's not that much traffic on them. You seal coat a driveway, a homeowner might be like, I'm good for 10 years or something. So you have this long customer cycle where if you're seal coating a Home Depot or Walmart or Rite Aid or Petco or whatever it is, you've got traffic in there every day. That seal coat is not going to last more than 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And they care about how good their parking lot looks because it's an indication of their business. So they're on a much shorter cycle. Like maybe every year, every 2 years, like, hey, we want to get in and get seal coated. So those are really great customers who are just recurring, who care about the look of their parking lot. And those are really the people that you want to take care of because it's predictable income. And predictability is the name of this game because it does vary so much. There's seasonality. You can only seal coat at a certain temperature and above. And here in Oregon, it's kind of hard to find. So our customers, but going back to answer your question, corporate or just commercial customers are a lot of just history with the company. So they always call, email when they're ready to get seal coated. We do get some stuff from YouTube, and then we run ads pretty much anywhere ads can be run to try to get new business because we're always interested in expanding and growing. Thankfully, we have loyal customers, but those are the ways that we get new customers.
If you need help getting more customers online and you don't have a website, then you need to check out Budget Built Sites. It's a completely free AI-generated website. All you're going to pay for is the hosting. It's 10 times cheaper than hiring a web developer every single month, and the site is generated in less than 5 minutes. So if you're serious about your business and you're serious about getting more customers, check out Budget Built Sites. It's linked down below, and get your business in front of more people and build your online presence today. Okay, beautiful, man. Yeah, I think it's a good point to talk about upsells as well, because I know you talked a little bit about earlier what services you guys offer. Maybe reiterate to us all the services that you offer, and then I'm sure all of them are upsells to a seal coating job.
Yeah, so I mean the upsells, I wouldn't consider crack seal an upsell unless you were just starting out. Crack seal and seal coat go hand in hand. Like they have to sort of go together. If you're not offering crack seal, which yeah, some people say crack fill, it's the same kind of the same thing. You're probably not in the seal coating game quite yet, but once you're seal coating, you've got your crack filling and seal coating. But other customers, some customers might want your curbs painted, or if it's a retail client or a Home Depot, or really like any parking lot that has painting on it, the kind of organic upsell or the organic next step is when you seal coat a parking lot that has stripes down and you cover it with a black top coat, those stripes are gone. And you're going to either need to come in and stripe those yourself, get somebody else to stripe them, or the company that hired us or hired you to seal coat is going to have to find a striping company. And so we thankfully have a pretty solid striping team, and we've been offering that as a nice like add-on. We know some seal coat companies that all they do is seal coat, and we'll go and stripe for them afterwards, or someone else will stripe for them. But the organic thing to do is to offer seal coating, and then if they're striping, offer to come back in, relay out the parking lot, and stripe existing layout, stripe what was there before, or maybe it's an opportunity for a new layout. Maybe someone wants to put, install a new fire lane curb, or paint a curb red, or make stalls a little bit bigger, or add some compact stencils or something, or make the parking lot pop a little bit in a different way, add some new elements there. So that's the easiest upsell for seal coat is striping. You have some like landscape that you probably could offer. You could say, hey, we'll come in and trim these islands up, and just some loppers, hedgers, and some garbage pails, and you could probably upsell a little bit that way. You've got, we have the benefit of starting as a sweeping company, and so every time we essentially are touching a new customer, someone who we don't sweep for, and vice versa, if we sweep for a customer that we don't seal coat for, we're just kind of cross-selling our other lines of service. So, which I'll kind of summarize at the end, but that's an upsell is we'll sweep your lot for you on a recurring basis. We used to offer snow service if you're in an area that gets a lot of snow or ice. Same thing, you can offer de-icing services, or gravel pickup after companies come through and gravel their lot. If you have a sweeper truck capable of picking up gravel, that's an upsell. And then thankfully, we have a whole paving division. So when we go out there and seal coat, we can identify, hey, this area right here is sinking in, a little bit of a sinkhole, or hey, this, I don't know, speed bump is half gone. Like, we'll come in and reinstall, or something of that nature. And what happens there is we'll just refer back to us. We'll take pictures and we'll refer back to a salesperson, say, hey, we noticed this and this out there. Could you go help the customer? And we'll kind of tie the two in on comms or something, get an email chain going for that. Another upsell, I mean, you start getting into the bigger upsells, which is you go into a parking lot and you see an island is like missing, or people have been hitting a certain curb. Well, we've got a concrete crew that can handle that. So that's a little bit more intensive, because maybe you got to remove asphalt and concrete before putting back the concrete. And then you got to bring in the asphalt crew. And then the biggest upsell of all, which is our excavation team. This is a crew that does amazing work, and they do it on a very large scale. Our excavation team, we're doing very large projects. So this is like, hey, we're gonna, I don't know, like take out a full building and like re-pour pads, or reinstall tanks underground, or like do an entire site demo and prepare it for something new. So I guess all in all, our service lines: parking lot sweeping, striping, including thermoplastic striping on like roadways and stuff, and that's a big business for municipality work. Seal coating and sort of coatings in general, crack fill, seal coat. We have some other products that we do. Asphalt paving, construction.
All right, cool, Jackson. So the biggest thing I think people should know is with any of these, businesses that are kind of like one-off services that you're doing like every couple of years, you also want to have a recurring factor in there. So I love the fact that you guys have added in the sweeping, as well as, removing of snow. It sounds like you guys also do like speed bumps and things of that nature. So you're kind of like always in contact with that customer. I think that's why you said you guys establish great relationships and they always call you back out. So just something to remember for anybody looking to start this business is try to find those pockets of recurring work that keep you on the property, keep you in front of the customer, and that way you can always upsell and things of that nature. So I think that's incredibly important. I do want to talk about the biggest job that you guys have ever done. I mean, is there like a particular job that like stands out that was like monstrous or anything? Or, I mean, it sounds like you guys do some pretty large scale jobs.
Yeah, so I mean, we do big work. When you talk about biggest job, particularly about seal coating.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, biggest steel coating job. Yeah. Okay, so the reason why I ask is because I like to give people like the big upside, right? Like we did a stadium parking lot and it was like $1 million. It's like, oh wow, now I know that like this is where I could go. You know what I mean?
Think about biggest jobs, like that's where you really win, right? You land that contract and you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to keep us busy for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 1 week of just going like hard. I guess I would kind of split it into two things. You have like the biggest singular job, where it's the biggest parking lot or area of asphalt that you could imagine, and you go in and seal coat it. And some of that, like, I would think big retail centers, right? I think we've done probably 800,000 square feet of just big retail centers. But cumulatively, there's other jobs that we've done that maybe it's not 800,000 square feet in one parking lot, but it's 1 million square feet spread across different campuses, kind of as a portfolio. So we have a lot of people that, big companies, just think about like a big company that has a ton of locations. Imagine just landing their entire portfolio for your state or for your region of your state, where it's like, hey, I have 40 X locations, insert company name, and then you go and land those. And those are really fun because it's sort of one-day jobs. It's maybe 40, 50, 80,000 square feet per location, but you land like 20 of them. And now you've got work for the foreseeable future. And that is kind of considered one job in itself, even though it's not just one location. So I would say all in all, like single location, probably 800,000 square feet. I don't know what the project value was, maybe like 160 or $200,000. And then biggest portfolio. I mean, nothing comes right off the top. Maybe like 20 locations. So, I mean, there's a lot of big work to go after if you want to play in that big boy space, which we do. I mean, we're constantly looking at those jobs. So it requires a lot of work. This is not easy. Like this is not just that, oh yeah, it's totally fine. Uh, don't prepare at all and you'll make it out all right. This requires a lot of preparation, coordination, hard work, the right crews, the right people, the right equipment, the right material. So I don't want to make it seem easy, but once you get into it, there's definitely some fun to be had and some money to be made.
I mean, Jackson, what you're telling me is I'm gonna make a lot of money in a short period of time without a lot of effort, is what I'm hearing. And I think I'm
Yes,
gonna start a seal coating business after this. So
you should.
yeah. Okay, dude, I want to ask you this. I think a lot of people are gonna start off solo operators. Is it even possible to do this kind of solo from the beginning and then add as you kind of get clients and things, add employees?
I would say solo is probably means two people. I know it's silly. Like probably you're not going to be a one man show. Um, at any scale, like even if you're doing a driveway, you're going to want two people. Theoretically, you could be a one person, but you're going to want two people. It's just find a buddy and have him go with you, even if he's just like holding the wand or the where the material's coming out and you're spreading it around. Um, you know, we say something in the industry that seal coating, all it is a controlled spill. Like it's not this perfect thing. It is a spill. You have like material down, a big blob of material, and you are just moving it from side to side or wherever you want to take it. It is a controlled spill. And you can control a spill with one person. But cleaning, crack filling, the other components, you're going to want another buddy. So I would say like 2-person minimum to start, and then you can scale up. And a crew of 6 is really great. 7 is like perfect. And then you start just building. I mean, you got to start at 2 though. You got to start at 2 and go from there.
Awesome, man. Jackson, what's the biggest mistake that like either your company has made or like you think that would be the biggest mistake for somebody who wants to start this business out? And biggest mistake could be like most costly mistake, right?
Most
So
costly. So I mean, bidding something wrong, like the biggest mistake that people can make. You know, I think the biggest mistake probably is getting seal coat on a homeowner's or even a company's property where seal coat shouldn't be. Think cars, think building, think person. You know, someone's walking by and you spray them with seal coat. Seal coat is a nasty substance. It's going to harden in 24 hours and even I mean really it'll harden in like an hour or two, but it'll cure in 24 hours and become like ultra hard. um, and you just don't want that on a car. You don't want that on a person. You don't want that on your hands. And so if you get this on a building, it takes a lot of effort to get it off. If you don't get to it right away, you try to come back the next day. I mean, that thing is going to be on there forever. So you want to be uber careful when it comes to seal coating near cars, near buildings, near people. That can be really costly and probably would cost you the customer, which you think about lifetime cost at that point. Not just that job. Maybe the job was $5,000, but they would have called you every day for the next 20 years. So it's like that's $100,000 or $150,000 customer gone. So that can be really costly. Another thing that's like the immediate mistake is just pricing something too low. You know, and right now with any company, you have these experts. You have subject matter experts. You have like our crew, seal coating. Then you have the sales crew, and sometimes those two things don't always coordinate right. A salesperson might go out and look at something, they bid it one way. We get out there and go, this is not at all what we thought. There's more crack fill. It's way dirtier. It's way rougher. There's variables of traffic that weren't considered. And so whatever they bid it at is not reality. And we're just constantly closing that gap. So even as old as our company is, we're getting better, but mispricing is the immediate mistake to avoid. Another mistake is maybe just like not understanding what your core competency is and maybe getting in over your head. We've had that. I mean, we've had that before where we think, oh yeah, we'll get it done in a day, and we got rains coming in, and then you're only able to get something halfway done, and you got to wait months and months, or even like until next summer to complete it. So really understanding your capabilities and not overestimating those, which we all tend to do. that's a mistake. But yeah, I'd say biggest mistake is just getting seal coat on someone's Ferrari or something really nice, which we've never done. But it's happened with other little cars or like buildings and stuff, and we just got to jump into action and remove that before it hardens up.
If you do a job for a customer with a Ferrari, then you know that you found a good customer. So,
Yeah.
it's a good sign. I do wanna talk one more question for you, Jackson. Worst customer you guys have ever had? And this could be a two-parter. So, if you don't have a specific customer that was the worst, maybe we could talk about the difference between, residential customers versus commercial customers and kinda maybe like, payout terms, yeah, just things that are
Let,
more
let's
invasive. Yeah.
yeah, let's do both. Let's do both. I'm not going to call out a specific customer, but I can tell like an anecdotal.
We'd like
Um,
to know their name and their address, please, if you don't
yeah.
mind.
Um, honestly, nothing comes. I've never had someone that's just like been so abhorrent that it's like, is going to stick with me the rest of my life. What we do have is people who not don't necessarily know what seal coat is, and so maybe they're expecting something different, and then they get seal coat, and then they just won't stop complaining about like a tiny little drip or a this or that. It's a parking lot. Like we try to say like we're artists on the pavement and we make things perfect or whatever. But the reality is when you're crack filling, you might have a few drips of crack fill that don't land right in the crack, and then they cure up and it's a little drip. Um, but if you're a customer and you see that and you weren't expecting it, it could just be the end of the world for you, and it might be the hill you die on. And so we've had customers that just won't stop calling, you got to come out and fix this. You got to come out and fix this. And there's nothing to fix. Like we seal coated it, it's sealed, it looks amazing, but there's like a drip that they noticed and they won't let it go. So that is why you have terms and conditions in your contracts that effectively limit that kind of the downside there, where it's like, hey, we'll do warranty work on anything that's out of the ordinary, but here's all the things that kind of fall into ordinary expected work. So terms are a big thing there. You can just point to your contract saying, you sign this, these are our terms of warranty. So you kind of limit how negative that interaction can get. And like, we don't want that to be negative. We want every customer to be stoked at the end of the day. And if they aren't, we try to make it right. But we're also not going to go out there 10 times.
As Jackson mentioned, terms and conditions for your business is incredibly important. This is a feature that's offered within QuoteIQ for absolutely free. You can include terms and conditions on every single estimate and signed off on by the customer before even performing any work. The signature is then time and date stamped on your estimate, making it you're covered in the event that anything goes wrong on the job. So if you want to use this feature, be sure to check out QuoteIQ. It'll be the first link in the comment section and the description of this video. That was perfect. The difference between residential customers and commercial customers with regards to like payment terms or expectations or just all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Residential, I mean, I guess if it was a huge residential customer, maybe it'd be different, but typically it's just check upon completion of the job or even prior to starting the job. On site, we are picking up a check. That's what's great about residential is you're getting paid right then and there. So that's a big thing. Some people will push back and want to go like, hey, I'll pay in 15 days or whatever, which is understandable and kind of falls within the realm of reasonability. But typically, I don't want everyone to know that. Typically, we try to just pick up check while we're on site. So that's a huge benefit. You get paid right away. All the costs that you incurred to do the job, you cover immediately. Now, commercial customers, especially if you're playing with some bigger dogs, sometimes you're not the biggest dog in the dog park, and they are. And so they set the terms. And that's where it gets a little tricky because sometimes they want to pay on, a little bit longer terms that don't align with your interests necessarily, but they are the customer. And so you kind of have to make do. So I'm talking maybe a customer wants to do, pay in 90 days. It's a long time to sit on costs before you collect. And if you think every customer wants to do that, well, that means you just seal coated for 90 days and didn't pick up a single check. And then they start rolling in. So you're going to finance 90 days of operations. That's just crazy. So we really try to push for shorter terms with commercial clients. And, they understand, like they don't want to do 90 days. So it's like, would you want this? Or would you want to like kind of treat us and let's be a little bit more fair with, a shorter payment term? to help us out. So that's kind of the difference with the payments is immediate versus they have a lot more control and price, or they have a lot more control over the payment terms, especially when they're bigger than us. So they set it or we set it. We try to be reasonable, like 30 days. Net 30, net 45.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind for anybody who's ever done a big commercial job is kind of maybe negotiating those terms up front and,
Yeah.
or even having that in the terms and conditions. So I'm glad we were able to talk about both of those things. Jackson, anything else that you think would be, really good information for somebody to know who's looking to get into this business? Maybe the downsides, the things that are kind of like, not as fun, I guess.
Well, I mean, not as fun is which it's kind of fun in the beginning with how dirty you get. Like you come home and you're just coated in seal coat, but that fun wears off real quick. It is a messy, dirty job. And some people are, it's like a bell curve. You're going to find your average where you're going to be kind of messy, but then you see people that every single job site, they are like caked head to toe in seal coat. And you're like, how did you get that dirty? Then you have people that are seal coating that are extremely clean, and you're like, how did you stay that clean? So be prepared to be quite dirty, just covered in seal coat a lot, and it's nasty stuff. I would say for people starting out, like Facebook Marketplace, do a little bit of research. Do, a couple hours of research every night for a week, just about the industry, your area. It's going to just vary by area. And on Facebook Marketplace, or any sort of marketplace, Craigslist or whatever, you're going to see these companies that are clearly liquidating some of their assets. Like maybe it was a 2-person seal coating company that tried it out, didn't like it, and they're getting rid of everything for cheap. So there's opportunity there to get into the game for cheap. So just put together a list, see what you want, and go find it and make it happen. I mean, it's out there for people who want to work hard and get after it. But you got to put in some work.
Okay, excellent. Well, Jackson, thank you so much for coming on, man, and sharing all this stuff with us. Every guest that comes on the channel has picked the word of the day. What would you like the word of the day to be?
The word of the day
Could be any word you want. You said a couple funny ones. Cauldron was one of them.
Yeah, cauldron.
I
mean, we could go with crackpot. That's kind of funny. Maybe let's say emulsion.
Oh, dude, that's a good one. Emulsion. Okay.
Emulsion.
That'll be the word of the day.
Double points. Asphalt emulsion.
That's right. Double points if you spell it right. So anyway, Jackson, thank you so much for coming on, man. We'll be sure to leave your channel down below. I know you want to leave your travel channel on this video or no?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
I'd love to. Yeah. So for people who don't know, I've got a little travel channel. I'm here in Oregon. I love Oregon. I think it's the best state in the United States. And I make travel content all over the world, though. But if you ever come to Oregon, check out my videos. I'll have them. Hopefully, they'll be linked somewhere here. Top 10 seaside, top 10 Oregon coast, top 10 Cannon Beach. I mean, top 10 waterfalls. There's a ton of great things to explore in Oregon. So come on over and check out the travel guides.
We love it. Jackson, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
Likewise. Thanks, Justin.